Hey guys, it's Alex Youngblood. I'm going to do this quick live here on some different cash flow strategies. And I did not announce this ahead of time. So let me see. I'm going to see if I can share this into my group here real quick. As you're coming on, just let me know that you're here and we will go from there. So let's see here. Going to try to share the video into my Facebook group. All right, here we go. So we're going to share to a page, share in a group. All right, I see you guys coming on. So let's talk about some cash flow strategies for this business. Let me know where you're from. All right, cool. All right, so I just shared this into the group, into my Facebook group. If you're on the line, go ahead and share it as well, and we'll get some more people on the line. And I'm going to have to do some child management here real quick because I've got some kids playing in the background. So hold on a second for me. Who's on here with me right now? All right, we got some people coming on. Let me know where you're from so we can get this thing started. We're going to talk about cash flow strategies because one of the things that I get asked actually by some of my coaching students is should I wholesale, or can you please close the door real quick and go ahead and play quietly because on here, okay? Yes, thank you. One of the things that I get asked is how should I approach this business? Should I wholesale houses first? Should I do renovations? How should I space that out, right? Can I do both? So some people try to incorporate these different ways of making money in the business. And there really is a strategic way of doing it, especially if you have access to funding for wholesaling and things like that. So if you're on the line with me, let me know what your strategy is right now. Are you strictly wholesaling? Are you strictly rehabbing, or both? Go ahead and type that in so I can see what your main strategy is, and we'll continue from there. So let me know, and then I can address that. So, are you strictly wholesaling, strictly rehabbing, or are you doing both? Let me know, and I'll tell you exactly how I manage my business, so that way cash flow is not an issue. Because the way you break this up, right, in the business is the way I look at it is you've got wholesaling is kind of your short-term cash flow, right? So that fills the gaps in between your long-term cash. And I would say long-term is going to be like your renovations and things like that. You could do some wholetailing, and wholetailing is a mix of wholesale and retail. And that might take a little bit shorter than a retail or a renovation. Actually, a lot shorter than a retail renovation. And then you've also have your long term, which is like your full blown renovation as well as new construction. So that's kind of the way I plot it out, right? You've got your wholesaling, which is your short term. And then you've got your wholetailing, which is kind of the midterm between like renovation and new construction style development type stuff. So that's the way I look at it. So wholesaling is good to always keep that machine going, right? Because wholesaling is all about generating cash flow on a consistent basis. But not only that, it's all about generating leads. And then you could take those leads and decide which way you want to go with it, right? So with wholesaling, you could say, okay, I got this deal. I'm going to go ahead and wholesale it. I'm going to take my $10,000 up front and I'm going to go on down the road. Or you could say, well, no, I want to go a little bit longer with it. So I'm going to go ahead and renovate this thing and I'm going to go for the long-term cash on it. Hey, Kay Johnson, good to see you. Sean, good to see you. William, good to see you. Trying to scale for consistent deals, monthly wholesaling. Okay. So if you have access to funding, right, you can use wholesaling to fill the cash flow gaps while you're doing the renovation. So you can actually wholesale the property to yourself or wholesale it to your own corporation. And that way you could take that $5,000 or $10,000 up front and then go for the longer term cash flow on the back end for when you're going to sell the property, right? So for instance, let's say you have a property that you are going to wholesale or you were looking to wholesale and you were only going to get $10,000 on it, right? But then you knew, oh, I could have made $40,000, $50,000 on this. Why do I want to give that away? Especially if you have the ability to do the renovation yourself or you have your own team, that is. Why would you want to give away that bigger end cash flow or cash payday on the back end? Well, the reality is you don't have to. You can simply wholesale the property to your corporation. So you could assign your interest in your property to, you could do it personally and then wholesale it to yourself. Or you could take kind of like what would be like an acquisitions fee. Just obviously let your lender know what you're doing, but you can take an acquisition fee on the front end and pay yourself $5,000, $10,000, and then collect the rest on the back end. So that's one way to bridge that cash flow gap while not giving up the rehab on the backside. So it's kind of a combination way of doing that. Has anybody ever done that before? If you have, go ahead and give me a thumbs up or say, yes, I have, or tell me, I think you're kind of crazy for even suggesting something like that. Let me know where you're at and what you're thinking, and we'll continue talking about that. David says exactly. BJ says wholesaling. Hey, BJ, good to see you. Yeah, you could definitely. So just strictly wholesaling, and that's fine too. You just have to keep in mind that with wholesaling, right, you have two different ways of approaching it. You have wholesaling from a cash flow standpoint to where you are just going to spend a bunch of money on marketing. You're going to generate leads and you're going to take those calls and try to get contracts and stuff like that. Or you can approach it from a time standpoint and you can say, you know what, I'm going to make phone calls to probate leads. I'm going to make phone calls to vacant houses, to code violations, whatever it is. And you're going to try to stack those lists and you're going to try to approach it that way. And then that is even going to, then it's just a time management thing rather than a cash flow thing. So you got to look at which way you want to handle that. But from a cash flow standpoint, you can definitely take some money up on that rehab before before you cash in on the back end. It just all depends on the way you want to do it. All right, let me see what some people are saying here. How do you manage cash flow being a full-time wholesaler? So if you're going to be wholesaling, well, then you're immediately going to take that cash, that $10,000, $15,000, and you're going to turn around and put that into another marketing campaign. So you have to be careful when you're strictly wholesaling that you don't take your foot off the gas. And what I mean by that is from a marketing standpoint, you cannot take your foot off the gas, because if you do, the lead flow is going to stop and you're going to be in a spot where you're like, oh man, I don't have any leads, right? So it's wholesaling is a big momentum business. It's all about momentum. It's all about gaining momentum. So with marketing starts with that momentum, and you got to keep that momentum going, or else it's going to eventually run out, and you're going to run out of leads, and you're going to run out of people to talk to. And before you know it, you're starting back at square one again. And that happens a lot of people, right? And that's where that inconsistency comes in. So if you're in that situation, don't worry about it. It happens to the best of us. Just start back up again. Get the marketing going out there and start that momentum going. You could be in a position too where, let's say you're marketing and you're spending money on marketing and you're generating leads, and you're finding that you're not hitting your lead goal for the month. So let's say you set a lead goal for the month and you say, you know what? I want to generate 50 leads this month. And let's say you put out a marketing campaign and it just didn't cut the mustard, right? And you're not getting the leads that you wanted out of it because for whatever reason, the response rate is down. For whatever reason, you're just not getting the phone calls, whatever the situation is. Well, then what you need to do is you go back and you look at your lead goal for the month and you say, well, I'm not there. Well, now I have to figure out a way to get to that goal, right? So how do you get to that goal? Well, now you got to use some what I would call filler strategies, right? You got to do some filler strategies in order to compensate for that. And I'll talk about those here in a second. Christina, you said make public so I can share. So Christina, if you go to my page, my Alex Youngblood page, you can share from there. I cannot share from inside the Facebook group itself. But if you go to my page, Alex Youngblood itself, you can share the broadcast from there. And I do really appreciate that. So go ahead to that page and share if you guys are interested. And then you can share the broadcast from there, or afterwards you can share the broadcast from there. So I do really appreciate that, guys. So we're going to talk about some filler strategies real quick, right? So if you're not hitting that goal, your lead goal for the month, you need some filler strategies. So one filler strategy that I really like, and I think a lot of people are not using it. In fact, I'll reveal that here in a second, but guys, go ahead and give me a thumbs up or a like if you are enjoying this information right here. You feel it's helpful. Give me a thumbs up, give me like, give me hearts, all that good stuff. And I'll talk about that in a second. So, and I'll look here in these comments here, see what you guys are doing here. I'll address some of these questions here in a little bit. Cool. I appreciate the thumbs up, Christopher. Thank you, Christina, again. I'll address some of these questions here too. Okay. So some filler strategies, right? And really cheap are something like Post-it notes. I bet a lot of people here are not doing Post-it notes. Post-it notes are a really cheap form of mail, right? So basically what you're doing is you can get a bunch of Post-it notes printed for like 1 cent, for half a cent, even depending on the volume that you do this in. And you can get Post-it notes done and delivered for 10, 15 cents total, especially if you're paying somebody hourly to put these out for you. So if you're in a neighborhood, find a hot neighborhood that a lot of action is going on, and find somebody on Craigslist to put your Post-it notes all over the neighborhood. And that way you're blanketing the neighborhood for half of what mail is costing. And you can increase your lead number for that month, right? So like I said, if your lead number is down, the amount of leads that you really were trying to generate for that month, use a filler strategy like Post-it notes. Now, obviously, it may take you a little bit to get your Post-it note produced and all that kind of stuff, right? But you'll have those Post-it notes for future use to fill that gap. And some companies can get them done really quick. I'll have to look and see the name of the company that I've used to do my Post-it note strategy on that. I'll have to post that on there, but they can do a really good job, really quick, really cheap. Fill your post, use that to fill your goal to get to your lead goal for the month, right? Because when it comes to setting goals, or we can't really say, okay, I want to make 20,000 or 30,000 or 40,000 a month. I mean, yes, you can set that goal, but you really can't control that. But what you can control is the amount of leads that you generate. And you can generate and you can control that by the marketing that you do, right? And that's all controlled by you yourself. So if you come in short on your lead goal, use that filler strategy, use Post-it notes. Okay. Another filler strategy that you can use is strictly cold calling some smaller lists. You can find some foreclosure style leads in your area and you can call them directly. You can find some code violation type list and you could call them directly. You can use some probate leads and you could call them directly, right? So it's all about finding what your lead goal is and then trying to meet it. And it might take some nitty gritty action to try to meet it. But you can do it. You can come back to it and you can hit that goal by using those filler strategies. So any questions about what I just said or comments? David, I appreciate that. Yes, the Post-it note strategy. I like it myself. Any other questions with regards to that? How do you get the phone numbers? Tim, good question. So if you are using a small strategy where you are, or a small list like probate, I would just check with peoplefinders.com, right? And peoplefinders.com is really cool because it's a small list. And chances are that the executor of the estate that you're trying to find, their number hasn't changed anytime recently. These are usually people that are, that have been in their houses for a while. They're established people, and that's the reason why they're the executor. So use something like peoplefinders.com to find that phone number, and that will help tremendously. And something that you can do. Yep, you got it, David. And you can use it and not have to worry about having a big bulk amount, like 1,000 names to try to turn on. So yeah, peoplefinders.com for finding the phone number. Maria says, what would the note say? So you can experiment with this. You can do like a handwritten looking Post-it note, and you could say, hey, I'm interested. If you're interested in an offer, call me type of thing. Just simple, sweet, attention getting. Doesn't have to look super corporate or anything like that. You can use that on a Post-it note and make it look like a handwritten thing. So yeah, that's one way to do it. Or you could approach it from the corporate side of things, and you can make it look corporate, and you can have a big old, sell your house today and bullet points and all that kind of thing on it. You can do that too. So it really just depends on the way you want to do it. BJ says, truepeoplesearch.com. That's another one. Appreciate it, BJ, on the appreciate the input on that one. Phone number for 1,000+ names. Yeah. So in that situation, you want a batch service. Somebody I recommend would be Jared Vidalis. I think you can reach him at on Highest Cash Offer is his website. And you can check that there, or just message him on Facebook, and he can point you in the right direction. I want to purchase a building, but can't find the information on tax assessor or anywhere. You want to purchase a building, but can't find the information on tax assessor or anywhere. Well, that sounds more on a commercial side. I'm not. I mean, the tax assessor is a great place to find information like that. You're welcome, Maria. Check that out. Absolutely, for sure. David Howard says postcards or yellow letter. You can test with both. You can try with both. You can do a postcard and a yellow letter. But here's a tip. If you're using yellow letter and postcards, obviously postcards are going to be cheaper. I would mail first with the postcard. So that way, when you get the return mail, you're not going to then resend a yellow letter to your return mail, which is going to cost more money for a yellow letter, especially in like a lower volume. So always start with a postcard and then go with a letter after that, because you can essentially scrub out the bad addresses on that. All right. Does anybody have any other questions about what I talked about using filler strategies, setting that lead goal? And then also the idea of cash flow with the wholesaling business, right? So we covered a lot of different things here. Cash flow with the wholesaling business, you can fill that cash flow, those cash flow gaps in a real estate business overall by using wholesaling. And if you don't want to give up a rehab profit on the back end, wholesale the house to yourself, take your $5,000, $10,000 up front, 15, whatever it is, pocket that, move on to the next deal, invest it into marketing so you can find your next deal, and then get paid on the back end. And then also on the flip side, when you are setting goals to hitting your cash flow, and you're setting a lead goal and you're short on the lead goal, use those filler strategies. One of them would be like using Post-it notes or using some cold calling to some smaller lists and things like that. You can definitely do that to fill in your strategies. All right, some more questions here. Is Skip Trace cold call batch cheaper than direct mail? You can, all right. So if you're trying to do batch skip tracing and you're trying to save money, you can use somebody like DataZap, and DataZap will fill in, you can get some data from them and then use that to continue your getting phone numbers and things like that. So definitely a good way to do that. BJ says, should your wholesaling business and rehab business be in separate entities? That's a great question, BJ. Actually, that's not a bad idea to have two separate entities for it, just for liability purposes, but it's also going to require different bookkeeping and things like that too. So you have to weigh the cost and the pros and the cons on that, because somebody could sue you in the rehab business and then that could tank your wholesaling business if you're not careful. So, one thing would be maybe to use a separate LLC, or a separate trust. So that way the trust stands as an entity as itself. Now, obviously, I'm not an attorney and I can't tell you what you should do in your business, but that's just some just thoughts that I had on that. All right. Does anybody have any other questions about anything about what I just covered here on this brief call? Also, guys, if you are on in business and you're just looking for moving to that next level, or you're looking for that customization, whether you're brand new, whether you're experienced, whatever it is, I'm going to put a link here in the comments and in the video, and you could schedule a strategy session with us, and we can see where you're at in your business and what you need to do to get to the next level. I have an implementation program where we basically break down your business on a first initial one-on-one phone call and find out where you're at, and then try to help you get to that next level. So if you're interested in that, schedule a strategy session with us, and we will be glad to work with you along those lines. I'm going to go ahead and put the link in here, and that is, all right, let's see, REI Accelerator /mentor. And if you are interested, we will be glad to talk to you, schedule a strategy session, and we'll talk to you guys about where your business is and how we can help take it to the next level. Does anybody have any other questions before I sign off here? If you do, I know it takes a little bit of a delay to get through to the Be Live here, so I'll just wait for a couple seconds here to see if it populates through. But yes, so today we talked about cash flow from a wholesaling standpoint, to using filler strategies to meet your lead goals, and then also basically what you can use to implement those strategies. So, all right, guys, I appreciate it. If you go to my page, Alex Youngblood, go ahead and share the go to my personal page, Alex Youngblood, and share this video so other people can check it out. Yeah, Maria, there is no fee for the session. It's free. However, the main reason is to talk to you about our implementation program to see if that's a fit for you. So it's not just a free session, but the main thing is we want to talk to you about working with you further in your business. So if that's the case, let us know. You could schedule at that link and we will go from there. All right, guys, I'll see you later. Good to chat.